Just, okay, so we're live right now. This is awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining me, by the way.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, like, I haven't. Last time I talked to you was last year when you were helping me with everything with Aware One. But I saw your video that you posted on Wednesday, and it was random because I don't even like. I don't see anything. I'm not even on social media that much to look at everyone's stuff. But you're the first video I saw, like when on my news feed.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is kind of interesting at the beginning. I'm like, sure, I'll keep on watching it. And what you talked about, you know, it's just that vulnerability thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so first off, why did you want to open up and talk about your stuff this week? Like what was the main thing?
So first of all, that was like 3 weeks in the making. It was a very hard video to do. If you were to talk to my best friends, they would tell you about a lot of breakdowns and struggles going into that video. So it was hard to do that. It honestly was. But to me, I'm very guided by like my personal values, and one of my biggest values is like, be willing to have the hard conversations. And another like belief I have is like the world would be a better place if we just had more like emotional awareness, or like we just took better like care of our emotional health. I think that's kind of an area that we really neglect. I think it's not as tangible, it's not as ego driven, it's fucking hard. So I get why people do neglect it, but I just think of, honestly, I just think the world would be a better place if we all just dealt with our shit. And I think in order for that to, like, another one of my values is you really need to be able to walk your talk. And so I think that for people to be able to do that, I think there needs to be a certain level of awareness, because it's not talked about too often. And it depends, like, I almost feel like there's like a teeter totter. Like there's the people that kind of like have gone over to the side of like working on their shit and dealing with their shit, and that like they're in, but it's the people that aren't subscribed or just don't know the value. Like that's kind of like, that's who I kind of want to talk to, and kind of what inspired me to do it.
That's cool, yo, and then you also said that you've tried so many different things.
Oh my God, so much time and money.
And what has been the end result? Like, what did you learn from all that? Oh, sorry. Reason. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, good. Like, what have you
Yeah.
learned? Like, what was like the biggest thing that you learned after all of that stuff? And kind of like saying, okay, I've tried everything that I've tried, and like, where are you at now? Like, what's working for you now?
I mean, I think that like of all the things that I've tried, I mean, there's nothing that didn't have value. Like everything, it kind of like, it adds like tools to your tool belt, so to speak. But I think the miss for me, your head can drive you. And like, I did Tony Robbins. I did, I've done a lot of like, what's that dude's name? Russell Brunson, Brendan Burchard, like all these like high achieving people. And like, that's what I relate to. Like, I'm an achiever. I want the things like, and not in a wrong ego way. Like that's just who I am. And I'm comfortable with that. But like, I think the miss for me was like, yeah, like I've done big things. I've gone places. I've proven that with my mind, I can travel far. But the miss for me was that, I forgot about my heart. And I just like, I've really circled back and learned that like, this is the gas that fuels the vehicle, but needs to be the steering wheel. And like, for me, I've fucked up a lot. Like that's legit, like kind of what's been a teacher for me. And I've been brave enough to like look at those mess ups and say, okay, what was the lesson? And that's not easy. And, it's really hard, but like even with my career in dirt biking, like I went from never having ridden a dirt bike before to like setting world records as a woman in freestyle motocross. And I got so far, but it was the wrong fucking direction. And I ended up in a world, in an environment that just wasn't in alignment with me. And I think the further down those rabbit holes we get, the harder it is to even like be yourself after you're like getting out from under that was so hard. Getting out from under that identity, getting out from under that peer group, getting out from under like, driving my worth from that. But like then just like being so fucking miserable that it's like you just, I feel like I kind of went long-winded your question, but like a lot of those things, all of them worked in some way, shape, or form. But I'm just gonna stay tried, steady, and true. That if you're not connected with your heart first, no matter what direction you take, you're probably gonna end up in the wrong spot.
I totally agree. I definitely totally agree. With this show that I do, I don't know if you listen to any of the podcasts I do, but I asked a specific question,
Mhm.
And the question is, what does mental health mean to you?
So mental health to me is a little bit different than even the arena I like to play in or the arena I'm entering. So I think there's a big difference between mental health and emotional health. So emotional health is kind of the arena that almost to me is almost like I can't speak too deeply to mental health. I think mental health has to do with like science. I think I don't know. I don't mental health to me means something that really needs to be cared for. um I think that mental health can be like mental illness or mental struggle. And again, this is just me like kind of painting a broad stroke, but like I think it can be the result of poor emotional health. I think emotional health, like really understanding and connecting with yourself and honestly like loving yourself. Like I think of the mental illnesses or the mental health problems in my world, I think have been deeply rooted, like not even for myself. I wouldn't say I've had as much mental health issues as I've had like emotional health issues. Um, but I'd say seeing it in my world, I think deeply rooted is just people who didn't take the time to like fall in love with themselves and to know their worth. I think that's no matter which way you scratch it, how it looks on surface level. I think that's kind of a root issue.
Totally.
Unless it's like totally like I don't want to speak to bipolar. I don't want to speak to things that are like a real like that kind of stuff. I don't want to speak to, but
Disorders, illnesses, that type of thing. I see.
yeah.
Yeah. Like how, like for me, like the emotional intelligence comes from self-talk. You
Hmm.
know? How do you like when you're in these like feelings that you get when you're frustrated or very irritable, like how do you talk to yourself, to get that out? I think that's a big question that a lot of people really don't know how to answer. They don't know how to talk with themselves. So like, how do you do that?
So I actually did a video on that one this morning, and it's a process that I actually call it's actually my ex mother-in-law. We weren't married, but we were very close. She taught this to me, and it's called deal, feel, heal. So for me, anxiety is usually my thing. Anxiety or anger are usually like the kind of like negative emotions that like I know I've been triggered or I know I'm struggling. So those are kind of like, first of all, it's the idea of dealing. Like, okay, so this is a thing. Like the same way that if I crashed my dirt bike and took a hit, okay, this is a thing. Like this is a physical hit. I need to address. I need to deal with it. I'm not just gonna like, hey, I broke my arm, but like I'm just gonna keep riding. Like no, you deal. Like you face it. And so for me, when I have those emotions, it's like I need to have the awareness that it needs to be dealt with. And I think honestly, that's even such a big win for so many people because I think that we really do shove our emotions aside and just like, nope, like put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, like have a drink, have some food, go on social media, like we distract. So I think dealing can actually be such a big, making the decision to deal is such a big deal. I didn't mean to say that twice, but you know what I mean? And then through that, like I'm just hyper aware of my behaviors. Like I've had them written out of like, I call them Band-Aid on bullet wound behaviors. So things that are distracting, things that are usually instantly gratifying, things that take me further away from the problem. They're an instant release, but they're not solving anything versus like I call them dealing with your shit behaviors. So like writing, journaling, talking to somebody, meditation. So I just kind of like hyper aware of the fact that like I've got to feel this shit out. At the end of the day, there's something going on. Like it's yeah, like anger surfacing, anxiety surfacing, but what the fuck's going down? Like go there. And that's just a practice that I've come up with. So then I kind of like do a little bit more of a deep dive and I get into what am I actually feeling? What's the story? And I find that often for me, I'm usually running off an old narrative, like I'm running off like what's causing me the anxiety, the anger is usually an old narrative. So sometimes like the healing part of it is like understanding what's really driving that and then creating a more powerful story. So one of my beliefs, and I actually took this from Tony Robbins, and I will believe this to the day I die. And it's that life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So even in like and that's why we need to do this work because like the win is in the pain. It's kind of like building your bicep. Like I know you're totally into like fitness stuff. Like I don't lift weights, no, but like, like at the end of the day, if it doesn't rip your muscle, if there's no pain, you will not grow your bicep. Like it's just how it is. And it's the same with emotions. Like if you don't feel that pain, you will not get the growth. You will not get the chance to ask yourself those bigger questions. You will not get the lesson. You will get stuck in your life because you will not graduate to that next level. So I'm very welcoming of the pain now. I'm kind of like, yo, I'm about to learn some good shit here. Let's do this. So I allow it to like, I come in and then I usually just like ask myself, what's the win? What's the story? Like, what was the old story that was causing me pain and what's the truth?
Right.
And how is this happening for me and not happening to me.
That's awesome, I think that's pretty amazing practice. You have a lot of like names and stuff for things that you do, right? I guess like how many things do you have written down? Like you call this that, you call this that. Like well, how like you should write a.
Uh, a lot actually. Well, because I think too, when you bring verbiage, like when it's like arbitrary or it's like this thing, it's hard to like so I really like educate myself and try to educate others by, bringing verbiage to it, like Band-Aid on bullet wound behaviors, like dealing with your shit behaviors. I use a lot of analogies and metaphors because I think emotional health and emotional fitness is very much like physical fitness. Like I think going into this journey, I was probably like 100 pounds over emotional weight. That's baggage I'm carrying with me everywhere I go. If I had to lose 100 pounds of physical weight, I would absolutely change my lifestyle. It would change my daily choices. I would have to put a lot more effort into it. And that was my journey. Around Christmas, like I had to put a lot of effort into it to drop that weight. And it's hard work and it's a change in lifestyle sometimes. And it's, sometimes it's hard to like have faith in yourself, even when you're going through it. But then like now I'm in a place where it's like emotional, like maintenance. Like I do things every day to serve my physical body. Like I drink a certain amount of water. I try to drink too much coffee. It's always a thing. I try to move my body. I go for walks. I go for hikes. I go for runs. I do yoga. Like I'm always maintaining my physical body. And I think that now I'm in a place where I'm maintaining my emotional health. So now when I get that trigger, like I got one today and it was just like, boom, anxiety, take an emotional hit, fucking do the process, work through it. And then the win in that is like, it's gone. Like I feel better about myself. And to be honest with you, it's such a confidence boost. Like people are always like, where do you get your confidence from? It's like, I trust myself to get myself through anything because I see this shit through. Like, I'm okay if I fucking bomb ass at this shit. I'm okay if I hit the ground because I know that whatever I feel as a result of that failure or whatever, I know it's still a fucking win for me because I'm going to learn something. And that's cool too.
What was the thing today that put you
Oh.
in that anxious zone? What happened?
Somebody from my past like really commented something kind of rude to me. Like it was kind of snide about my video that I posted on Wednesday. And so what's really stopped me from posting things like that and really being honest, like this is just truly who I am. And like what prevented me from doing that before was like, I had this like armor that I armored up with. And if you look at my old social posts, you will see it. Now that I'm like describing it, but like I had this armor of like, I'm a cool kid. Like I'm a cool kid. Like I used to flip dirt bikes for a living. I've been to Pastrana's house. Like I go to X Games. Oh, I used to play in Lamborghinis and helicopters. I wear Gucci shoes. Like you can see it. And I would do that. Like that was kind of like my armor. It's like I don't want you to know that I'm actually struggling. So if I've got this facade on, you're not going to know. Like no one's going to look at a girl hanging out in Lamborghinis and be like, man, like she's really dead inside. Like maybe you would if you're smart enough, but like that was just my armor. And like when that person, she was kind of from that life, that chapter of my life is like that really like be a cool kid, don't let them know you struggle type of time in my life. And so when she said something, it wasn't even what she said, it was just truthfully like when I started, I went and meditated today and I was like, I like betrayed that cool kid in me. It was like that cool kid doesn't struggle. The cool kid does not let people know that they have a hard time sometimes. Like that's not what a cool kid does. That's the fucking definition of cool kid. They got it figured out. And like, but again, in the win, and I was like, hey, well, that's an old narrative because I've actually hung out with a lot of people who are like cool and they ego driven, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, I don't fit in there. And what I actually think is cool in other people and what I actually admire in other people is really their ability to be vulnerable. I love people who are authentic. I love people who serve this world. I love people who are passionate. Like I love so much of that. So like, I just got to redefine what it meant to be a cool kid. I get that 16-year-old me defined that as a cool kid going through her parents' divorce and needing some level of protection. I get why that narrative was there. And that's an old train track that I was on. But I'm an adult now and I need to make different decisions in my life. And I actually showed up as the coolest kid, by doing that video on Wednesday, because I was fully in alignment with my values and what I admire in other people.
I think the thing that got me the most, Allie, was the authenticity. Like just how you were so normal and so calm, but at the same time you're so real.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what people are like fiending for. Like do you think like is that the reason why people commented so much and watched the video so much? You think that's why, or why do you think there was so much like views and people looking at that video? Why do you think it was so important for people when they're watching that?
Honestly, I really strategically use story. Like I could have shared facts and speed numbers, but I think people relate to story. that's why I shared my story, is because I think when someone tells their story, you see yourself in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only reason, like, it's honestly, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my presentation. It has nothing to do with what time I posted it, or what I wore, or how I looked. I think it truly just had to do with the message and the fact that, like, it's relatable, you know, and people are like, I struggle too, man. Like, it's just, and like, and I really, honestly, like, I think I used to contribute to a narrative of like, I'm better than you just by the things that I did. And like, I think there was a lot of power in being like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm actually the same. Like, we're all human. And honestly, it's my goal, it's my vision, it's my purpose to uh, just bring that to a more normal conversation. Because the more we normalize it, the more people are gonna be willing to kind of see it.
Right. I think that's very important. And once again, it just hit me, it just hit me when I like seeing people do that. I like people that come out and say that this is how I'm feeling for real. And you can tell the difference between when someone's talking about something that's really authentic or something that's really not, you know?
Yeah. And you kind of have to be careful. Like, and that was like my thing too. Like, I did that video probably like 14, 15 times. And like, sometimes, you know, I really use humor to kind of like be guarded. And sometimes I don't know, like, at the end of the day, I just wanted to just be honest. And sometimes I was like, well, no, like, I'm a control freak. I'm in marketing. I'm all about strategy. I understand how to connect with a consumer. Like, I get that's my job. But sometimes you just got to lay down. You just got to let down the strategy. You got to let down control. You got to let down of what you should or shouldn't do, or what you know, and you just got to be real. And like, and I would caution people. I don't think, like, there are stories in my life that I will not share online. There's a lot that I will share. There's a lot that's not. That, you know, like, there are things that, like, it's just no one's business. And I don't think that putting on the internet is going to be of service to myself. I think it'd be, you know, like, there are some things that just aren't necessarily worth or necessary to share. There are some things that are, you know, and you got to know that line and that balance for you.
No, definitely. I totally agree with that. You can't put everything online. That'd be way too much. Like, people would, have the right to kind of judge you and say, hey, like, take it easy. But I mean, when you're talking about things that are relevant to people's lives that they have a hard time dealing with, with it, especially with anxiety. I think everyone deals with anxiety to some level.
Can I actually tell you a thing? So I am a Facebook advertiser. I generate leads for physical therapists. I spend about $2 million a year on Facebook. And I generate about 5,000 leads a month. And I wanted to change verticals, and I wanted to go over to mental health just out of passion. So I went and before you can really jump into anything, you got to do a certain amount of market research. So I went and I called, I think, 30 to 40 mental health professionals. And I said, in my market research, I said, what is the number one thing that people come to you for? And they're like, anxiety, and then second, depression. And I was like, that's so interesting. Like, I'm like, it's not divorce. Like, it's not like situational. Like, it's not like loss. Like, no, it's general anxiety and depression. And that was across, like, literally, I don't think anyone said it differently. It was literally anxiety and depression across the board. And like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Like, it's just so, because we can do something about it. And I think, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but like, my anxiety is like my body, my soul, my heart's way of being like, dude, hear me, like, see me, like, notice me, like, I'm dying inside. And I'm like, nope, more wine, like, more food, like, no, like, and yeah, it's pretty crazy I don't know that our parents experienced that.
It is crazy. And so Allie, this was the first video that you ever posted about talking about anything, right?
Somewhat. I did some stuff in my dirt bike journey years ago, but I kind of like, I hid off social media the last 3 years. I've hid from my life for the last 3 years because I was too scared to try. I was too scared to fail. So this is like kind of newish for me.
And like, was there a big something that happened in your life that you just said, fuck it, I had enough of this shit, I'm just gonna start talking, you know what I mean?
I mean, it started with a breakup. I think everyone kind of has like their rock bottom, their straw that broke the camel's back kind of story. So I went through a really significant breakup around Christmas time. And it was like the person I thought I was going to marry. We just bought a house. Like, it was my human, like, of all the things, like, I had a lack of certainty in my life, but that was the one thing I was certain about. And so when that all fell apart, I just like, and I have this like core belief that like life is kind of like grade school. Like if you don't learn the lessons and you don't like, if you don't learn the lessons in the grade you're in, you're not getting to the next grade. And in so many areas of my life, I had been feeling stuck, like in career. I've struggled with an eating disorder all my life. So like that was something that was like still a thing. And I was like, this fucking 16 years, like started through parents' divorce. They're fine. Why is it still a thing? But like, obviously I took that with me in some way, shape or form. So I could see all these things in my life that were like falling apart. And then when the breakup happened, I remember actually specifically calling my best friend. I said, I need you to hold me accountable to something. And she said, yeah, like what's that? And I said, I need this to be the teacher that finally teaches me the lessons, because I feel like I've just been running and I can see it like it breakup was again like the final straw, but I was like, I wasn't happy in that relationship. I wasn't happy before it. Like I haven't been happy. And I'm just like, I think I used that relationship in itself as a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And I used it to like feed like a very big insecurity in me. And like, you can't use people like that. Like that's not okay, you know? And I was doing that. And so it made sense that it kind of fell apart. But I basically just said, I need this to be the thing that fucking changes for me, or like it gets me to learn these lessons, because the only thing worse than going through this breakup is having to do it again in 5 years, because I'm resisting the lessons now. And I believe that they will resurface if I don't go there now. And in 5 years, I might be even in a deeper relationship. I might have fucking kids. I don't want my kids to be involved in this shit. Like I was lucky to be able to cut ties really clean with that person and be like, you know, no one other outside of ourselves were really impacted. So that's honestly a beautiful thing. But I just was so committed to being like, I'm not dragging this shit forward, whatever it was. And that was like my whole philosophy behind like, you got to go backwards before you go forwards. And it's changed my ability to go for things in my career. It's changed my, you know, my love for myself. It's changed how I approach my eating disorder. It's changing how I approach relationships. Like it fucking changes everything, more than Tony Robbins, more than rah, more than any of it. Like it was the game changer for me.
Wow. That's incredible, Allie. That's it's pretty cool, like to see somebody that can recognize that though, you know? Because a lot of people don't want to go back. You know, a lot of
No.
people can't face that shit. You know, same for me. You know, I had to look at things like, why am I acting a certain way? And I'm doing this, like you said, I've been doing it my whole life. There has to be a point in time where you just say, oh, enough is enough. I need to learn and keep moving forward. I had a problem with anger myself, you know, like it's just sometimes there's like this like an analogy or something about like cutting off that branch of your life. You know, if you don't cut it off, it's going to keep growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you know? So I think as soon as you recognize it, then it's like, okay, cut that off and try your best to keep moving forward. But, you know, it's hard to do that. And a lot of people, like I said, don't want to go and look that way. It's very tough.
I will never take that away from anyone either. It is the fucking hardest thing. Like I get why people don't do it. I get it. And you know, one of my biggest lessons in this too was like, I always thought I could like coach my boyfriend along so he could do the work, because I know he had his own stuff. And I like look at it now, I'm like, I think about all the things that I've been through in the last like 6 months. And there's no way you could like sell somebody on doing this. Like they have to have their own big why. And for me, my why was like, I was in such a place of pain that like, I was like, I am not willing to go through this again if I don't have to. Like, I get that life happens. I get that someone might die. I get those things out of my control. But if what this cost me is 6 months, 8 months, a year of trudging through my fucking shit so that I come out like happy, full, that I stop outsourcing my happiness, that I know from inside out that I actually love myself, fuck it, I'm in. Because I'm not doing this shit anymore where it's like, just keep running from your problems. It's just not fucking worth it. And like, I honestly, like, that's like my whole MO, like it's my whole mission, it's my whole vision, is to be like, be that. And that's the only reason I share shit too. Like, I'm not a very public person anymore. I'm only sharing things because I just think that like in sharing story, like you can help other people like build that courage. And a lot of people did connect with me and just basically share like, yeah, I feel similar. And it's like, well, you can do something about it. Like that to me too, like I'm not just going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm so inspiring. Like I'm going to challenge motherfuckers. Like I think it's really important to call people out and say like, if you want this, you've got to do the work. And I promise you it's going to be hard. You're right. Like it's going to be scary. It's going to be muddy. Sometimes I literally felt like the world was ripped out beneath my feet and I just didn't have any stability. Very true. And it was fucking worth it. So it's up to people though, if they want to do that work or not.
What's been the most eye-opening thing to you that you learned about yourself, you know, through all like the breakup and all this since Christmas time? What's the most like significant thing that you learned about yourself?
life's like one, it's magic when you deal with your shit. It's like magic, like the release, the lightness, like the truth. And there's just no better feeling than loving yourself. And I just didn't. And it's just like, you know, I had this like narrative of like, oh, when I achieve this, you know, maybe this or that, or like, you can't love yourself. Like that's so egotistical, like, or that's wrong, or like, I don't know, or like, I'm not worthy. Like I had daddy issues. Like as much as I joke about those things, I'm like, daddy issues are like a real thing. Like mommy issues are a real thing. Like all that kind of stuff. And it's fine. We all have them in some way, shape or form. I'm sure of it. And, you know, if we talked about it more, maybe we'd all feel a little more okay with it. But for me, like there's nothing more impactful than loving yourself. There's just nothing. Like I can't believe I got as far as I did in my life, not being in my own fucking team. And I'll never go back. I will never go back to like not loving myself.
That's something that you said, you know, being on your own team. Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
something you don't hear too often, because it's actually a good way to put it. You know, if you're
Yeah.
not your own cheerleader in a sense, you know, you don't have your own back, then who the fuck is going to have your own back? You know what I mean?
And I didn't have my own back, and like I would fail at things and I wouldn't see it through. Like I would see the beauty in other people's failures. I would see like the wins in other people's failures, but I wasn't courageous enough to see my own, you know?
Right.
And I think I kept that narrative of like, don't give yourself too much credit. Cause I'm also like, have you ever done the Enneagram personality test? Do you know about that one?
No, I don't.
It's a good one. And it's like super fast. Cause some of them are like, oh, take this test. And like 40 minutes later, you're still doing like, don't do that. It's really quick. But like my identity is in it being an achiever. I like to build shit. I like to achieve shit. I like to make money. I like to have things. Like I like achieving. That's my thing. And so I'm super surprised I even got as far as I did in my life, not having my own back through all of it. Like that's pretty crazy. And I'm really excited for this like next chapter of my life to see like where I can go, like being on my own team and, you know, being out of judgment on myself and just being kind of more compassionate and just like loving the things that make me different, you know, and like loving the things that like make me imperfect and like loving my body, even if it doesn't look like the people on Instagram. Like, it's just like, I don't have anything to prove anymore. Like I've already won myself over, like, and that's enough.
That's awesome. What is like the next like step for you? Where do you see yourself when, you know, you being this new version of yourself, you know, which is very exciting, but like, where do you see yourself? Like, what do you see yourself achieving the most?
I really want to do something with all of this. Like I've kind of coined it like deal with your shit. And like kind of creating, I don't know if it's a coaching program. Like I'm going to stay open. Like I think with these sorts of things and just given like my marketing experience, what I do know is that, you know, the consumers will tell you what they need. So the whole point of like even putting content out is to like, just stay curious, you know, like what are people responding? What questions are they having? You know, I reach out to a lot of people and basically just say like, hey, how can we help you? How can we serve you? If there was a program, would you prefer one-on-one? Would you prefer a retreat? Like if we could do an online course, like would that help you? Like my MO, like my 10-year vision is like to create a world that's like where we normalize emotional health, where we talk about our emotional health and value it the same way we do our physical health. Cause like you can't go on fucking Instagram without seeing someone lifting something and building their bicep and getting a million likes for it. Like my MO is to normalize that whole thing in emotional health, to see it the same way that like we see physical health. You know, hey, you're 100 pounds over emotional weight. Dude, don't worry. We're going to be your personal trainers. Here's the resources. Here's the tools. Here's the coach. Like whatever you need, here's the process. Like, and it's not perfectly defined and all those things. And I'm still in market research phase, you know, so I'm going to bring my strategy and achieving mind and experience all together. And I hope to build something out of it. You know, I pitched the idea today of my first like retreat, you know, so bring people together to work through this in a group setting and, you know, and also too, like one thing that's like super, super important to me and I will never compromise and I will never give up. This shit also has to be fucking fun. Like I'm a very fun person. Like fun is one of my number one values. And like, I think that we can do this work and not have to be like in a dark room and talking to our inner child and like I don't like that shit. Like that was part of like the reason I didn't do it. So I was like, I don't want to be spiritually enlightened and like not shave my armpits and eat avocado toast and only talk about that and just meditate all day. Like I'm not willing to be that person. And so like, I really want to bring an element of fun to it and like lightness, like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's have some hard talks. Fuck yeah, let's have some breakthroughs and fuck yeah, let's go boating and play. You know what I mean? So like, that's kind of what I'm like visualizing at this point.
I like that. When's that going to be happening?
I want to do one mid-June and I want to do one in July. So I kind of think like I got to reach out to a few more people. I pitched the idea today and I got about like 6 inquiries on it, which was a little bit lower than I was hoping. But at the same time, I don't think people really know what we're trying to create. So I think I got to go back and do a little bit more like putting it together on paper, sending it out, continue to push it and see who it attracts. Cause like one thing I will call people out on, only cause I've done this too, people get inspired by things, but that doesn't mean they take action. You know, like, it's really cute that you liked my video. It's really cute that it impacted you. Show the fuck up. Get the fuck into this thing. Like, do the fucking work. Like, at the end of the day, like, we can be inspired all day. Like, if I wanted to have more abs or whatever, I could look at Instagram models all day and like it and say, you're so inspiring. And I love that you are vegan doing this shit. But if I'm not actually picking up the fucking weights and showing up to that fucking gym, cute, who fucking cares? Like, it's just background noise. So, like, my challenge to people is, like, if you are inspired by this, if you are interested in this, like, get in, like, we'll support you. We'll love you 4,000%. And, like, I'm not a coach. So I work with people who help people, like, truly through that. And, like, I'll support and love. I'll probably bring, like, the fun element. I'll hire the boats, you know, and I'll be there to, like, again, support and love and share story and create hopefully courage for people. But, you know, I really challenge people, if it does inspire you, take action. And we're doing everything, like, super low cost, like, just the cost to cover, like, the expenses. Like, I have a full-time job. I do well on the side. Like, it's not about the money. It's truly just about, like, getting people started. Like, let's just cross that bridge and, like, let's get you started.
Oh, I'd like to hear more about that. That sounds pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to come. I'll send you all the information. And if you know of anyone too, like, it's so funny. Like, one of my biggest, like, in getting started was, like, I had an old story of, like, if, like, I can be kind of intense and extreme and things. And that's why I've jumped dirt bikes the way I have. But, like, I just had this, like, limiting belief that I had to, like be like Zero or Tony Robbins. Like, I wasn't really graceful with allowing the journey. I wasn't graceful allowing the failures. I wasn't graceful for allowing the curiosity with myself. And, like, now that I know I've got my own back, now that I know that whatever I fail at, I'll learn from. So fucking bring it on. Now I'm allowing, like, just for things to kind of, like, work out. So, like, if we can start this out, like, my vision's still big. I'm an achiever. I still, like, go big, but, like, hey, like, we can get 5-10 people in a room and work this out. What if the next time we get 15? And what if after that we get 20? And, like, what does that look like in 5-10 years? You know? So that's the kind of thing, like, we're just, like, treading down, but right now, but, yeah, that's what's going on.
I love that shit. Allie, you remind me of the lady version of Gary Vee.
Oh my God. Because I say fuck too much.
I love that shit, yeah.
I know. I was, like, doing that video. My mom messaged me. She's like, I really liked your video. But she's like, you say fuck a lot. And I was like, yeah.
You have motherfucker written right beside you. So it's like right beside.
And Wim Hof, he says it too. He's good dude. He's smart bud. Do you do, like, what's your thing? Like, what do you do to kind of, like, deal with your shit?
And I'm really into fitness. You know, I think I like this guy named David Goggins. You ever heard of this guy?
No, I don't like fitness. So it's, but trust me, he's great.
Okay, well, this guy is like, he has something that just, like, it really stuck with me. And I read his book back in, at the end of 2018. It's called Can't Hurt Me. It's one of my favorite books. And he's like, how he deals with his shit is just by running, you know? So I started running, and, you know, after you run about 20K, 30K, and once you get up to that mark or whatever, when you're done, you're just like, you have nothing to fucking complain about. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to really complain about anymore. And that's how I started stretching too. I think stretching is it's a way to release stress. A lot of my stress is just kept inside of me, very tense. So when I stretch it out, try and stretch every day. So that's been helping me a lot too. But I think meditating, you know, there's so many things you can do, you know, and I think it depends on your mood, like what kind of mood you're in as well. So if I feel like I have a lot of energy, you know, I want to, like, you know, work out my body, then I'll go for a run or I'll go for a workout. But if I just really can't sit still and my head's all over the place, like, I'll try and sit still and maybe stretch or meditate, listen to some nice relaxing music or something. And yeah, it's just like, there's too many things, you know. I think even talking to people, I think that's another thing as well, like talking to your circle, you know, having a good social, having a good social circle has really helped me. I have so many amazing people around me. So I think if you have people you can look to talk to and you know, express your feelings of how you're feeling, and get them out instead of leaving them in, and journaling has helped me, actually a lot in the last year and a half. I never done that before. Writing shit out. It's like, it's so
Huge.
weird to put it on paper. It's just like, fuck, that's what I'm thinking, yo. Like,
But fuck, it's huge. It's just like, it's that, like, getting it out thing. You're like, yeah, no, fuck off.
crazy. But yeah, I think, like, there's probably, like, a lot of other things too, but I think eating healthy, diet has been a huge thing for me as well. I used to like, I've always eaten kind of healthy, but just getting rid of certain foods and realizing what you're putting into your body and not stopping at fucking A&W to when it's a quick fix, you know what I mean? Like there's so many quick fixes everywhere, you know, just like fitness too, like getting your 6-minute ab bullshit. That's bullshit. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of that shit out there, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I do now, but I think the biggest one for me is fitness.
Yeah.
It's always been just, you know, if I have anything, I've always been active too. So I think that's always just been a big thing for me, but yeah, like there's a lot of things, Allie. There's many things. I'm still trying to discover more things, you know, and
Well, and like that's like the thing with it. Like and again, it's so much like fitness. Like your emotional health and your emotional fitness is just like your physical fitness. Again, if you're 100 pounds overweight, it's the how is not the issue. The amount of ways you can lose weight, you can go running, you can go kickboxing, you can control your diet, you can do keto, you can like, it's not that like there's so many options to lose the weight. It's just like knowing the value of it. And that's like what I really want to convey in like emotional health. Like, hey man, like I've got like tons of friends, my brother-in-law who helps me a lot or helped me a lot through this. He likes doing ayahuasca. He likes doing shrooms. Like he goes that way. My sisters, they're like more religious. They've got a great like Christian community and they do a lot through the church that really helps them. Like it's not a matter of what you do. It's just remembering the fact that it's fucking important to fucking do it. Right. Like we're all just like super overweight. We don't have like emotionally overweight. We don't have to be.
yeah.
How you do it, that's your call. You get to discover that. I think it's a lifelong journey, but fucking do it.
And another thing too, like, you know, as the days go on, if you do the same thing over and over, the shit it's eventually gonna get boring. You know what I mean? Like we can enjoy eating, you know, like when you have a meal that you haven't had for a long time, and it's like, fuck, I could eat this every day, but that's a lot. You can't eat that shit every day. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to switch it up. So I think like with life, it's kind of like this is working for me right now, but I'm also gonna keep my open mind. So if I learn something new, I can try that out and maybe throw that in there every once in a while, you know?
Yeah.
Trying,
And
you know, I think it's huge.
with your fitness, I'm sure you get to a certain level where it's like I like joke I'm not really into fitness. Like I'm actually pretty into running. And like you get to a place and you're like, yeah, like I can do 10K and you're like, I want to go more, or I want to do sprints now, or I want to like, now I want to get better at yoga. Like, you almost want to go deeper into your fitness. And like, I think you get to a certain level of like knowing and loving yourself. And you still want to go deeper.
Yeah.
And how you get there, there's 1,000 ways. I don't know. My brother-in-law and like one of my really good friends is trying to convince me to try like plant medicines, like shrooms and things like that. And I'm just a little bit, I'm like, I'm interested, but I'm like, I don't know. I try to like, one of the things I really quit getting into this journey too, again, like if I was trying to lose weight, I'd have to like change my lifestyle a little bit. But a couple of things that I really gave up was like alcohol, you know, especially like when I was first going through my breakup, like I barely had control of my emotions. Fuck alcohol. Like fuck alcohol. Like it brings you up, it brings you down. Like you get drunk, you're so happy. And the next day you hit this like ultimate low and you're like, I can't afford this. Like I emotionally cannot afford this. So like quit alcohol. I quit social media for a few months. Like now I'm on it and I post, but I never scroll. And that's just like my commitment to myself. Like I don't look at your story. I never scroll. It just doesn't, it's just, there's a few accounts that I like do. I'm like, you know, that was a good quote. I like that one. Or meme accounts because they're funny and like, who don't want to laugh? Yeah. But I don't know. I think there's a few things too, that if you're going to make this lifestyle change, like as much as there's so much you can do, there's a few things that you can also take away to really help yourself out.
Allie, I'm so happy you said that because I quit alcohol. So New Year's was the last time I had a sip.
Oh, I've had sip one since. Damn it. I was like, me too, but no, I've cheated twice.
Crazy because I made a trip back home to Ottawa where my family's at. And I was blown away with the amount of people. I was there for 12 days and I was blown away by all my friends and family, the way they looked at me. And even like people that I haven't seen in a long time when I was out and about, you know, they'd be like, they'd ask me, it's like 5 or 6 or 7. Some people even like joke, like it also goes to like 10, 11, 12 people or times, sorry, where they go like, are you really not having a drink?
I know.
Like, no, I'm not having a drink, man. Like, you know, it's culturally accepted. And it's a high and it's a low. It's hot and cold. You know what I mean? And I'm sick of that shit. You know, I don't ever want to drink at least until I reach like, you know, a point where it's like, okay, I don't really care about this anymore or whatever. But for the next little while, my goal is a year, but I think I plan to not drink for a very long time. And I'm really happy you said that.
Yeah. Like I agree. And like, sometimes I'm like, you know, I have like an eating disorder mind. So like doing things black and white can be very triggering for me. So I definitely don't say you can't. I always say to myself, you have the choice. And
Right.
for me, I just kind of reflect back on like, yeah, those highs and lows. And I reflect on those things. And it's just not worth it. And the
Right.
thing is like, again, like when you fall more in love with yourself too, um, you don't rely on it a lot less. Like before I was like kind of nervous and I was like, oh my God, like, am I good enough to be here? Like, what if I say something stupid? I say a lot of stupid fucking shit, you know, and I just super insecure. Like, as I show up to like meet new people, or like that person's way cooler than me. I can't say hi to them, or like, what are they going to think of me? Why did I wear this? Like so self-conscious. Whereas like now I'm just like, I'm a fucking 10. I'm a fucking rock star. I'm having the best fucking time and I don't need a drink for it. Like when you fall in love with yourself, like all those reserves just also just kind of vanish too. Right. And you're like, oh, you don't like me? That sounds like a you problem. Like I'm not affected by it anymore. Whereas like drinking used to be like a bit of like a barrier for me, or like a courage boost for me. And like, I just don't feel like, I feel like I just kind of don't really need it. And like, also too, if you really want a good out, so I have half a pancreas from a crash and I've got a pretty nasty scar to prove it. If you tell people you're like, oh, my pancreas has been acting up from alcohol, then they just leave you the fuck alone. So if it's like health related, then they're like, oh yeah, okay. But if you're like, no, I just want to make better healthy choices for myself, like, boo, like, damn it.
It's so true. Yeah, you should stick with pancreas though. That's keep it nice and low key. That's
Oh
perfect.
yeah. Everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a good choice.
Yo, listen, Allie, this has been super fun. I'm so happy that you're on this path, and I was so happy to see that video. You probably reached so many fucking people in the community, and I think there's gonna be big things planned ahead for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate you watching. Honestly, anyone who watched, I appreciate it. And again, I really hope it comes off that like this is not the fucking Allie show. This has nothing to do with me. I don't want to be, this to be an ego thing in any capacity. I truly believe in the power and the value of dealing with your shit, of like knowing your emotions, of seeing them, of going backwards to go forwards. Like I live and die by this kind of stuff. So if sharing my story gives anyone any ounce of courage to do it themselves, and also I'm going to challenge you to do it because being inspired is cute, but like taking action is cool. I'll challenge people to do it the day I die, but like it's worth it. I promise you it's hard. You're right. You're so fucking right. It's hard, but I promise you it's worth it. I promise you.
That's awesome. Well, we'll leave it at that. And also, I really want to know about this retreat thing because I'm definitely interested.
Absolutely.
So please
Absolutely.
details for that, and I'll have this podcast posted. You can listen to it anywhere. It's on iTunes and Spotify and pretty much everywhere, SoundCloud, whatever. And I'll get that probably up in the next couple of days. And I just thank you so much again, Allie. Like I truly appreciate your time, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. And also send me the link when you do, and I'll share that shit too.
That shit. All right, yo.
Have a great one.
You too. Thanks, Allie.
Bye.